Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
Make your property rock and roll with services from G&S Excavating, specializing in white sand, compost, mulch, topsoil, landscape gravel, and steel landscape edging. Turn to the pros who know how to make your project shine with years of experience. The best part is they're locally owned and operated. Choose from a vast selection of mulch and rock from their conveniently located facility at number 3 Valley Road in Lawrenceburg, just off Buffalo Road. Phone 931-279-3841 and get started today.
Hey, this is Phil Hooper. Get the look you want for your favorite school, church, or business with apparel from HD Ink Screen Printing in Leoma, Tennessee. Got a logo you need embroidered or screen printed? Let HD Ink give you the professional look that sets the bar in today's world. We do fundraisers and custom designed apparel and so much more. Call today, 931-201-2961, or come see us at our new shop located at 26 Ingram Road in Leoma. Remember, HD Ink for the look you want and the look you deserve.
A moment in real estate with my dad, Jeff Hood.
You know, I get asked a lot about what the market's going to do. How's the real estate market? I've been selling real estate for a long time, and nobody has a crystal ball. And you know what? When it's your time to buy or your time to sell, it really doesn't matter what the market's doing. It's your time, and you have to do something maybe. What makes a difference is the agents and the experience that go to work for you. We're Keller Williams Hood Company, located here in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. We can help.
Hood Company, powered by Keller Williams, the #1 name in real estate.
There's a reason owners Tyler and Cindy McDowell chose the name In Service for their towing business. They did because it's their goal to be in service for you on the day that you need them the most. In-Service Towing is now known far and wide for their response time because minutes matter when you're broken down, or their 24/7 availability. You can call them anytime for service. Their professional team with years of experience and their fairness, plus their know-how in dealing with the unexpected. But the thing that In-Service is known best for is how they treat their customers, and that's like family. When you need them, call them 931-843-9098. Are you looking for the perfect refrigerator? What about a new stove or washer or dryer? It only makes sense to shop at the one place that specializes in appliances, top to bottom, big or small. And that's Kelly Appliance in Lawrenceburg. Kelly Appliance is home to all major name brands, including LG. LG makes life good with a full selection of refrigerators, cooking appliances, dishwashers, microwaves, and more, including appliances made right here in Tennessee. Family owned and family operated. Stop by Kelly Appliance on Jerry Street in Lawrenceburg today.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
And happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome in to the Mark My Words College Sports Show here on the X Sports Network. I'm your host, Michael Marks, and still got this sinus stuff going on, so we'll try to make it through this episode. But we got a lot to get into. We had some breaking news this morning. I guess we could call it college football news. Baylor Athletic Director Mack Rhoades announced earlier this morning that he will be taking a leave of absence for personal reasons. This leave includes his role as the College Football Playoff Selection Committee chairman. There were reports of Rhoades being under investigation for a pair of interactions with Baylor tight end Michael Trigg in their September 20th loss to Arizona State. But a statement from the university states that this leave is not a result of those events and it is purely just a personal matter and a personal leave of absence. But the College Football Playoff Committee is going to have to find a new chairman before those rankings come out on Tuesday. Interesting. We've had a member of this committee step down for similar reasons earlier this season, but it wasn't the chairman. So now they're going to have to do some searching around. We'll recap the rest of the midweek games. To be fair, last night's action was, in terms of great football, it was kind of a dud, but I mean, we had interesting moments all over the field. Northern Illinois defeated UMass 45-3. UMass falls to 0-10 on the season, and it's beginning to look less and less likely that they will get a win in 2025. But they did have a crazy pyro show with fireworks after they did hit that field goal last night. I believe that cut the game to. I believe they scored that field goal after all 45 of Northern Illinois' points were scored. Rough season for the Minutemen, and listen, Northern Illinois by far the best they've looked this season. Toledo took down Miami of Ohio 24-3. The Rockets up to 6-4 on the season. Hard to say we saw this one coming. I mean, this is kind of one of those you don't really know who's good in the MAC and who's not until they play. Tucker Gleason had an all right game, 169 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. And then Chip Tranium, the running back, 21 carries, 91 yards, and a touchdown. So, fairly good game all around. And then for Miami of Ohio, Henry Hessen, 11 of 38 for 147 passing yards and 3 interceptions. That's not going to win you a lot of football games. You can throw picks when you're scoring touchdowns, but if you're not scoring, it's hard to find reasons to give the ball away. Now, funny enough, turnovers were even in this one. Both teams were fairly good on third down. This one just came down to Toledo being a much better team, a more fundamental team, and a team that could capitalize on their possessions. We'll stay in the MAC for one more game. We got Central Michigan beating Buffalo 38-9. The Chippewas up to 6-4 on the season now, bowl eligible. Buffalo still needing one more as they fall to 5-5. This was another great game. Joe Labus, 247 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks for Central Michigan. This game was kind of a turnover fest, to say the least. There were 7 total turnovers in this game, 5 for Buffalo, 2 for Central Michigan, and that had an impact. I mean, you look at it was a 3-score game. There was plus 3 turnovers for Central Michigan. Say that's even. Does Buffalo look much better? I mean, Buffalo was much better on third down, 7-18, compared to Central Michigan going 2 of 10. Outgained them by 40 yards, outpassed them by 15 yards, outrushed them by 25 yards, had a better average. Committed a couple more penalties, but really, penalties weren't a factor in this one. Just the turnovers, and 3 of those turnovers did come from your quarterback two came from your quarterbacks Taquan Robertson and Gunnar Gray, each with an interception. And that makes it hard to score. I mean, you had a couple of field goals here and there for Buffalo, but really that's where a majority of their scoring came from. You look at the 2 for 2 field goals, 1 for 1 on extra points. Buffalo tried to go for 2 on that last touchdown they scored to try to even it up, but it was just too big of a lead to overcome. Now for this weekend, there's big games, there's not big games, and there's one interesting one I want everybody to keep an eye on. And we'll go over some of the playoff hopefuls as well as who they're taking on this weekend. We will start it off first in the ACC. Clemson going on the road to take on Louisville. This one on Friday night. Louisville getting another Friday game. This time they might be on the wrong end of it. The Cardinals. They've been a good team this year. I mean, we know it. Their 2 losses have come to very good teams. Cal, I get that, was kind of an upset, and Virginia, but I think Cal and Virginia, when they don't turn the football over, are 2 of the better offenses in the country. It's just that fumbles and interceptions have a way of compounding for them. And Louisville, very, very much so the same way that, their games they've lost, they had a turnover problem. You look at that game against Cal. Overall, they had a turnover. Cal didn't. That was the difference in the game. You look at that Virginia game that they lost in overtime. If I can pull that up, 2 turnovers to Virginia's none. Clemson, on the other hand, how has it come with them and turnovers this year? On the season, they have 4 fumble recoveries and 6 interceptions. So they've only forced 10 turnovers this year. As a team, is that we got a turnover differential because it's probably not very good. Their turnover ratio -3. So they're one of those teams that has a turnover problem. I think Louisville's going to capitalize on that. Now, listen, these Friday night games in the ACC have all been weird. I mean, we had that Virginia. At the time, it was a Virginia big-time upset over Florida State. Louisville, at the time, big-time upset over Miami. At this point in the season, does Clemson have what it takes to battle with Louisville? Because I don't know. I think Louisville has a very, very good defense just as a team. I mean, you look at their turnover differential, it's +2. So when they can force them as well. Cade Klubnik, 5 interceptions on the year. Does he see number 6? He's actually got 4 more passing yards than Miller Moss, but Louisville's been a team that's very ground heavy, and we saw that last week against Cal. Obviously, they don't have Isaac Brown the rest of the season, but K'Wan Brown had 136 yards in the game. Clemson's had a tough time stopping the rush this year. You look at some of the teams that Clemson have beaten and how they run the football. LSU is one of the very few that doesn't run the ball very good. Georgia Tech runs the ball good. Looking at some of their other games, SMU ran the ball. I believe they actually did run the ball fairly well in that game with a collection of guys. Duke had a pretty good game on the ground. Nate Shepard did in that game, and then actually their defense did a really good job holding Florida State. They're only 110 yards rushing last week, so it's going to come down to Miller Moss and Jeff Brom and this Louisville offense to get it done. Because listen, Clemson's going to score points. It's just you have to keep up with them, and it feels funny that I'm talking about this like Louisville's not favored, because they are by 3.5. They're going to have to keep up that offense, and on a Friday night, strange things can happen. So watch out for that one. But if I'm picking right now, I'm going with the Cardinals. They're such a tough team to stop, and I get we just saw it happen last week, but again, I don't think we see them turn the ball over a bunch in this game. I think this is relatively a clean game for them. I think they're going to try to keep it on the ground a bunch, solidify their run game, and I think Louisville gets out of here with a win. Staying in that same conference, we will go to Saturday morning, the College Game Day game. Number 9 Notre Dame at number 22 Pitt. And it's the first time College Game Day has been to Pitt on a Saturday in 20 years. Funny enough, same matchup. and Pat Narduzzi does what he does best and says something, I don't want to say necessarily controversial, but says something that has gotten a lot of attention this week. In the media, obviously, we saw him say, I don't care about this Notre Dame game this weekend is not a must-win. It's not an SEC game, or it's not an ACC game, so they could beat us 103 or 110 to 10. Some people like that comment, thinks it's a he's trying to win his conference. You can respect that, and a lot of people think it's soft and stuff like that. But if you know Pitt, Pat Narduzzi, you know that is fighting words almost. Listen, they got one of the most exciting young quarterbacks in the country with Mason Heinschel, and he's really, really good. Now, their running back, Desmond Reed, he had a really big game in that Florida State game. What is his health, though, going into this one? Because he's been battling injuries this week. We'll see if the ACC... Oh, good, they have put out... Oh, we will have to wait till tomorrow night to see those injury reports. So, guessing in the dark, I will say this. And Pitt, since they're not even playing an ACC conference game, don't even have to put out an availability report. I'm not 100% sure about the health of Desmond Reed. Let's look at some of their past games and see how much he's played. Did not play last week, or 2 weeks ago against Stanford. A couple weeks before that against Pitt, he did play. And then before that against Syracuse, he also played. And then again, he had that big game against Florida State. So I would guess that he's probably going to play in this one. I think he gives Pitt a weapon on offense, because he in that game against Florida State, he had 210 yards of offense and only 45 of them came on the ground. He had 150 some odd yards receiving, so he's a big receiving threat too. I think that makes Pitt a very dynamic team. But they're going to need their quarterback to come through and limit the interceptions. 12 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That was what got Eli Holstein benched a couple weeks into the season for you. So if you don't watch the interceptions, you might end up there yourself. They're But I think Pitt's offensive line is going to be the deciding factor in this one. Pitt quarterbacks this season, through the 8 games they've played up to this point, been sacked 26 times. That's getting close to 4 times a game. You can't get sacked 4 times against Notre Dame and expect to do well against them, because they are one of those teams that likes to compound their sacks. They'll get 1, they'll get 2, and then before you look, they got 6 or 8, and you can't run the ball. Your pass game looks ineffective. They can really compound your team's mistakes. For that, and look at Notre Dame's offense. Obviously we've heard about Pitt's offense, how well they can move it. Listen, Notre Dame's got also a red shirt, not a true freshman, but a red shirt freshman at quarterback, and CJ Carr, who has done a very good job this season. I will say that. Early in the season, I was a little cautious. I saw that game against Miami, and he looked a little scared, and I think that's fair to say for a guy that is playing his first game in college. But looking at his numbers, he's efficient. He's not going to blow anybody away. He's not top 10 in the country in passing yards, but at 68% completion percentage, 2,275 yards, 19 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and has only been sacked 10 times. And I believe most of those came in that game against Miami, and I would assume that a couple of those were also probably against Texas A&M. So he was sacked 3 of those 6 times by Miami, and then 2 more of those sacks by Texas A&M. So in the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games that they have played since then, 1 sack. And 6 games. They've only played 6 since then. Or no, that is 7. So yeah, in the 7 games they've played since then, 1 sack. That's pretty good. That's impressive. Jeremiah Love, almost 1,000-yard rusher at this point, 13 touchdowns on the ground. He's been really impressive. They do a lot of variety in the passing game. It's Jordan Faison some weeks. It's Malachi Fields other weeks. Eli Raridon, the tight end. Will Pauling has had a couple of big weeks this season. They also like to use Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love out of the backfield. That makes them a very dangerous team. I'm going to go Notre Dame to win this one pretty comfortably. I think they get it done. I just don't know how Pitt's defense will be able to handle Notre Dame, because that is the one thing that has kind of plagued Pitt this year in their losses. They haven't been able to and it's not that they haven't been able to score, but you look at their 2 losses, and that was the diagnosis. That game, so their last 2 losses, they came to Louisville, where they only scored 27 points. That Louisville game they lost, only scored 27 points. Got to do a little more than that. Lost to Pitt in overtime, or lost to West Virginia in overtime, only scored 24 points. But games that they score a lot. You look at the Syracuse game, only had to score 30, but NC State, 53-34. They know against the offenses they got to put up points. They'll try to do it against Notre Dame on Saturday. We'll see how it goes. Another big one in the ACC, NC State at Miami. We've seen NC State pull off some shockers this year, but also lose some games that they just cannot afford to lose. How do they look in this one, though? You look at their big wins on the season: Virginia and Georgia Tech. Both those games are at home. Games that they've traveled, at Notre Dame, lost. At Pitt, lost. Even a home game versus Virginia Tech, you go to Duke and you lose. So this team, not very good on the road, and their offense has kind of been the problem. Their only road win that I see is at Wake Forest on a Thursday night. So, yeah, NC State has a great offense. C.J. Bailey's known for 2,400 yards and 19 touchdowns, and Hollywood Smothers has 800 yards and 6 touchdowns, and Jaden Scott's done a great job filling in behind him. Can they get a couple stops? Because Miami has a pretty good offense as well. Now, their problem as of late has been Carson Beck throwing it to the other team. Do I think that'll happen this weekend? Probably not. I don't think NC State has the defense that can force a bunch of turnovers. I'm going with the Canes, and I think that this ACC title race, and who's going to get that one bid, because I think it's pretty much settled that this is a one bid league at this point. It's going to get interesting. And now, if Miami loses, they're done. Season's over for them. Congrats to NC State for ruining a bunch of team seasons. Virginia at Duke. Surprisingly, an 8-2 team and a 5-4 team both have very much playoff aspirations. And yes, it does sound crazy to say that, but Duke is 4-1 in conference play, despite being 5-4 overall. They just can't win their non-conference games. You look at their non-conference, and it's been a little brutal. Elon got the nice win there, but then you lose to Illinois, you lose to Tulane, you lose to UConn. Now, Duke would have to run the table and probably get some help. They'll need to beat Virginia, North Carolina, Wake. Honestly, if they hadn't just lost to UConn last week, I'd say it's believable. Because this team has a really good quarterback. Darian Mensah is almost 2,800 yards, 24 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Not much of a running threat at all, but Nate Shepard and Anderson Castle have over 1,000 yards combined. Those guys are actually really close to 1,100 yards combined, 13 touchdowns. Cooper Barquet has been a really good receiver for this team, the senior. Transfer from Harvard. Imagine transferring from Harvard to Duke, and this is a 1,000-yard receiver last year for Harvard. So, who, funny enough, is undefeated right now in FCS. Maybe an interesting team to keep your eyes on. But for this one, I don't know. Last week we saw the Virginia lose, we saw Louisville lose, and and the weeks before that we saw both Georgia Tech and Miami lose. So everyone in the ACC is really up in arms. You don't know what to predict. You don't know who you're getting. Who's gonna be the hero in this one? Because somebody's gonna need a hero. It's at Duke, so I would lean toward it being a Duke player. Does Darian Mensah take over in this game and just not allow Virginia to score enough? Because Virginia has had some struggles scoring as of late, really ever since that Florida State game. Scored 30 against Louisville, 22 against Washington State, 17 against North Carolina, 31 against Cal, and then 9 last week at Wake Forest. Their offense is falling apart. Duke can put up points. Their defense is also, it's all right. It's not great, but it's not bad. I don't think Virginia's defense is bad. I mean, look, in these losses, they're still holding teams to 16, 21, 16, 20, 27. They can hold teams. They're going to have to hold Duke Saturday afternoon. I'm going to go Virginia to get the win, but if Duke does, watch out, because we have a realistic shot at having a 8-4 team have a playoff hope. Because they'll have to go. I mean, they'll have to go to the ACC championship game, and I would assume at that point they would have to beat Georgia Tech, a game that they lost earlier in the season at home, but one that they would probably also like to have back because there was a 99-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown for Virginia or for Georgia Tech in that game. Hop on over to the Big 12. Not as many big ones in the Big 12 this Saturday. We had that big one last Saturday. Arizona at Cincinnati. Wildcats, surprisingly, they are the quietest 6-3 team in the country. Because you don't realize they're 6-3. You don't realize that they're having a good season, and then here they are. Noah Fafita, 2,200 yards, 23 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I feel like his stat line is incredibly good for how quiet the noise has been around this Arizona team. Ismail Mahdi, 600 yards, 2 touchdowns. Actually don't have a lot of rushing touchdowns. Fafita has 3, but as a team only 13. They do a lot of their stuff through the air. But again, their offensive line has given them many, many problems. Because their quarterbacks, Fafita alone has been sacked 22 times. As a team, they've been sacked 25 times. That's a lot. And then you go look at who they're playing Saturday. Arizona. They are playing Cincinnati. What do we know about Cincinnati? Their offense can put up a lot of points. But can their defense get a lot of sacks? They've only produced 17 on the season. Sorsby's still only been sacked twice all season. I don't know if Arizona's defense will be able to stop Cincinnati. I think that this Cincinnati offense is just waiting to explode, especially being held to 14 against Utah 2 weeks ago. I think they're going to want to make some noise, and I think they are in this one right here. Give me the Bearcats in this one, and really like Scott Satterfield's team. They have been one of my favorites since early in the season. Since that win at Kansas, I've been a huge proponent of the Bearcats. West Virginia and Arizona State. This game has become more interesting across the last couple of weeks because West Virginia's won 2 straight. They were 2-6, season's over. They're a bad team, blah, blah, blah. And something's shifted past couple of weeks. Maybe Rich Rod's finally gotten through to the guys, but they've turned a corner, and in a good way, in a way that I didn't know this team was going to be able to, and it's because of a freshman, Scotty Fox Jr. Now, his stats aren't going to blow anybody away. 800 passing yards, 60% completion percentage, 5 touchdowns, 4 picks, 9 sacks. He's ran for 200 yards on 3 yards a carry, has 3 rushing touchdowns. Nothing he does has blown you away. But you look at the wins he's orchestrated at Houston, home versus Colorado. Yeah, and listen, they were right there in that TCU game the week before that as well. This West Virginia team is, I'm not going to say legit, but they could pose a threat to Arizona State. I'll see if they have their injury reports available, because I know the SEC does theirs on Wednesday nights. I'm guessing for other conferences, unless you have a game on Friday, then you do yours on Thursday. We'll see what the Big 12 has. Oh, they do have one released as of now. So right now, Jordan Tyson out, but it does look like, it does look like that Sam Leavitt will be able to play for West Virginia. A lot of guys injured, but Scotty Fox isn't one of them. It's going to come down to quarterback play in this one. Who has a bigger game? Does Scotty Fox get it done again, get a big win, and have West Virginia 5-6, looking at a bowl game potentially? They'd have to do it against Texas Tech, so it would be a miracle. Or does Sam Leavitt get his team back on track against a defense that has had some struggles this season, especially against things that Arizona State's good at? I'm going to go with the Sun Devils, but watch out for West Virginia. They've been a pretty fun team to watch the past couple of weeks. Sticking in the Big 12, Utah at Baylor. Now, does this game have any college football playoff aspirations in it? Probably not much. They'll try to tell you Utah's still alive, but I don't think there's much of a shot at that. They would need some big-time BYU losses, which I don't know if you'll get. But Utah's a really, really good team, guys. And you look at, they're 7-2. Oh, their 2 losses are to the only 2 teams ranked above them in the Big 12, Texas Tech and BYU. Unfortunately, they had to play Texas Tech and BYU, and unfortunately they lost both of those games. But look at the other games they have played. Other than those games, they have killed everyone. 43-10 UCLA, 63-9 Cal Poly, 31-6 Wyoming, 48-14 West Virginia, 42-10 over Utah, or over Arizona State, 53-7 over Colorado, and then 45-14 over Cincinnati. This Utah team is a buzzsaw, and they're running through teams and continue to do so. I think that will continue with Baylor. Baylor has turnover problems. Utah likes to have fun with people's turnover problems. We saw that again when they played Arizona State. Give me the Utes big in this one. Now, the most interesting game in the Big 12. You have TCU going on the road at 6-3, coming off a loss in a game that they should not have lost, going on the road to Provo to face number 12, 8-1 BYU. BYU coming off their first loss of the season last week, and boy, it wasn't just a loss, that was a whooping that they got from Texas Tech. Now, on the other hand, this is a good opportunity for BYU to have a home game at night, good environment to just try to blow TCU out of the water. Now, I really haven't been able to figure out what the deal is with TCU, because obviously they shocked us all week. Well, I'm not going to say shocked us, but they had a very impressive game week 1, that win against North Carolina. And since then, they've been a little... I get that North Carolina team was not very good week 1, but they've looked since then. I mean, after that North Carolina game, we were all ready to give them the playoff, and then you beat Abilene Christian, sure. You get over SMU, nice, and then you lose lose on the road to TCU or to Arizona State as soon as you get that number by your name. Beat Colorado, and then you lose to Kansas State. You get a nice win over Baylor that you almost didn't win. You barely get by TCU, and then Iowa State finally gets you. So I'm starting to think that maybe TCU isn't that good. But their quarterback has 2,700 passing yards and 23 touchdowns and only 8 interceptions. And they've also been able to run the ball fairly well this season. Kavorian Barnes and Trent Battle are both over 4.5 yards a carry, combined for almost 800 yards and 9 touchdowns. But I will tell you, BYU's defense really, really impressed me on Saturday, and that's the part of TCU that has struggled the most. I'm going to go with the Cougars in this one. Now, if we end up in a shootout, I will take TCU in that comfortably, just because I know that they can put up points with the best in the country. They just haven't been showing that as of late. BYU, yeah, they got some nice numbers, but they're not that kind of team that can score and score and score. Now, they've had games where they've put up 41 over Iowa State, but that 41 is the most they've put up against a Power 5 opponent. They put up 69 over Portland State, but who doesn't at this point, out of the FCS. But I'll tell you, BYU's going to have to earn their way if they want a chance at the playoff. They got TCU at Cincinnati and UCF to close the season. So that will do it for the Big 12. We'll hop on over to the Big 10. Again, not as many huge games, but we do have one tomorrow night, 8 p.m. on Fox. Minnesota gets another Friday game. It's their second of the season, and their first went really well. They would like to see if they could do that again. Will they against Oregon on the road? I don't know, because Oregon, they haven't beaten anybody. Everybody in their mother will tell you that. But the only time they did play somebody, they lost. Yeah. But most of their wins have been pretty convincing, other than the last couple of weeks. But getting that win at Iowa was a lot more impressive than 2 points. I think it's worth a lot more than that. Coming off a physical game on a short week, though, against another physical team in Minnesota that had last week off. I will just say that the last time Minnesota had a game on a Friday night, it was at home against a ranked team, and they won it 24-6. A game that they just totally controlled. Had 200 rushing yards, 150 more than Nebraska in that game against a Nebraska team that, if you know anything about their run game, it's been really good. They can shut down good run games. What are they going to do with Dante Moore, though? Because he is probably going to be the second or third quarterback taken off the board this year. His numbers aren't great, but some teams have tried to slow Oregon down, and that's gotten them out of a rhythm. You have all these guys that show up and play hero ball, like Deere Hill and DeCorian Moore show up big in that Penn State game and haven't done a whole lot since then. Jordan Davison has been the big premier back along with Noah Whittington. I think Oregon's defense is going to show up big in this one because it's going to have to. Because PJ Fleck's teams on Friday nights have done really well. I think you're just going to have to force Drake Lindsey to throw the ball a lot. 62% completion percentage, 10-6 touchdown to interception ratio, and has been sacked 14 times. I think that's something that Oregon has looked at a lot this week and is something that they will try to take advantage of. But if it's close late, watch out. I'm picking Oregon, but if it's close late, you got to remember that Oregon team hasn't had as much time off, and Minnesota has had 2 weeks off. Our big noon kickoff game is cool location, probably won't be a good game. Michigan at Northwestern at Wrigley Field. I don't know how many seasons in a row Northwestern's done this, but they've had a couple of games. I know they did their last couple, and it'll probably be the same way this season. Their last couple of games at Wrigley Field, which is, I think, incredibly cool. Because there's not a lot of times you get to see football games at baseball stadiums. I know that Fenway Park has a bowl. I know that Yankee Stadium has had some games before, like with Notre Dame. So I think seeing a game in a baseball park, I don't know how the field layout exactly looks for this one, but I think it's going to be cool. I mean, TV angle might be a little strange, but you got a Michigan team that is still very much alive in everything. They can make the playoff. They can still make the Big Ten championship game. Those odds, everything of that ends Saturday if they lose this game. where are we at with Justice Haynes? That is the burning question. Because he was, in the terms of running backs, I would say he's probably 2 or 3 in the country at one point for Heisman favorites. But he got hurt against USC. And, will he play in this one? I don't know if he will. But I don't know if Michigan needs him to play, because they've kind of found a new weapon at running back, so to speak, and that's Jordan Marshall. He has been outstanding this year. You have Justice Haynes, go out in that USC game at halftime, and that second half, Michigan looked helpless because they didn't have their running back. I thought that they looked a little soft in that game, and then they come back the next week with Jordan Marshall, and he puts up numbers. That was that game against Washington at home, and Jordan Marshall goes out there and puts up 133 yards on 25 carries and a touchdown. That's 5 yards a carry. Goes out against rival Michigan State the week after, goes for a $152. Or no, that was Justice Haynes. So it looks like they do have both of their running backs back now. Did he play much last week at Purdue? No, he did not play at Purdue. But Marshall goes for 185 and 3 touchdowns. This Michigan team has 2 running backs getting over 6 yards a carry, and both of them have over 100 carries. That's the best 1-2 running back punch in the country. I get a lot of people, Singleton and Allen at Penn State, and Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame. I think Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall are the most interesting 1-2 punch in the country. And you look at Northwestern's defense, they're 63rd in the country in rushing. That's not good enough. You're going to need to be top 5 in the country at minimum if you want to be able to stop this Michigan team. I'm going to go Michigan pretty big in this one. Also in the Big Ten, Iowa at USC. Iowa had their playoff hopes pretty much cut out from under them last week. That loss at home to Oregon it was their last chance, and weren't able to get it done. Maybe if there was another drive, time for another drive on the clock, that they could. But now they got to head out west to LA under the lights at USC and try to stop this Trojan offense. This is one of the biggest contrastive styles we've seen this season. USC favored by 6.5. It's a 2:30 game, Big Ten Network. Don't know how this one isn't on. You look at some of the other games in this time slot, just in this conference, you wonder how this one got thrown to the Big Ten Network, because it's by far the best game up there. Iowa, USC, both won 3 of their last 5. USC's won 2 in a row. One team's quarterback has 2,600 passing yards. The other one just got over 1,000 last week. Both teams pretty similar when it comes to running backs. King Miller has been an interesting addition to the college football world, because in, we'll say, 1, 2, 3.5 games, has put up over 630 yards of offense, just rushing. Has also has 44 receiving yards. So, yeah, around 700 total yards of offense and 5 touchdowns in 3.5 games. He's been awesome. And it's allowed Jaden Maava to be a lot better, too. Mekhi Lemon's getting close to 1,000 yards. He will probably break that in this game. Maybe. If USC can speed up Iowa, they could run away with this one, similar to what they did with Northwestern the week before. But if Iowa can slow USC down, we're going to see USC become a completely new team, and probably not one that's going to look very good. I'm going to go USC in this one. I figured that they can get it done at home, and keeps that Big Ten race very, very interesting, because right now USC, their 2 losses are to Michigan and to Notre Dame. So they still only have 1 Big Ten loss. They have Oregon left on the schedule. They have UCLA left on the schedule. They would probably, I think their route to the Big Ten championship game involves Michigan beating Ohio State, so USC would have the tiebreaker over Michigan. That would be my guess. Another race that could get very interesting, but it all falls on Michigan beating Ohio State. Speaking of the aforementioned Buckeyes, they are at home Saturday against UCLA. This one's the night game on NBC. I'm going to guess when they scheduled this is before UCLA had dropped 2 in a row by a combined score of 57 points. Probably going to happen again. There's literally not even a money line available on this game. You cannot predict UCLA to win this game. And I don't think you'll have to. I think Julian Sand is going to torch this team. I mean, he's over 80% completion percentage on the season. You got a guy in Bo Jackson, not the Bo Jackson, but another one. 6.5 yards a carry on the season. Not many touchdowns, but this team does all their majority of their work through the air. Jeremiah Smith is starting to put up some gaudy numbers. I mean, 65 catches, 860 yards, and 10 touchdowns is really good. And this defense, man. Ohio State's defense is absurdly good. Texas, 7. Grambling State, 0. Ohio, 9. Washington, 6. Minnesota, 3. Illinois, 16. Wisconsin, 0. Penn State, 14. Purdue, 10. Nobody scored more than 16 on this team. And that was an Illinois team that supposedly had a really good offense and did not look good in that game at all. So, yeah, Ohio State's going to win that one. They're going to be 10-0. They'll probably play nobody good next week and just get ready for Michigan because that's the game everybody's waiting for. And this year, it's going to have a lot of hype. I don't know if it had much hype last year, but it will definitely have it this year. On to the SEC, and we have an interesting game in the morning slot. Sorry, LSU fans, that you have to wake up before noon, but your team's playing Arkansas on Saturday. You're favored by 5.5. Over/under set at 57.5. That is making you think that they think you can score some points, and it looks like Michael Van Buren's going to be the guy. They're burning his red shirt, which I think is incredibly stupid. If you were going to burn it, why wouldn't you do it? I don't know, earlier in the season when you could actually get some use out of it, because I don't know what the injury situation necessarily is with Nussmeier, but it looks like they're wanting to use Michael Van Buren as well. Whit Weeks looking like he's going to be able to come back possibly this week. Aaron Anderson should be back. That makes that wide receiver room a lot better. That makes your defense get its captain back. But if Weeks doesn't play, you're looking at an Arkansas team that scores a ton of points. You just look at their past couple of weeks. 52, 56, 35, 31. I'm going to skip that 13 against Notre Dame. 31, 42, 24, 35. They're going to be able to put up some points. If they get to 35 in this one, I don't think LSU can keep up. And I think they get to 35. I think we have our biggest upset of the season, SEC-wise, on Saturday. And I think Arkansas is going to get to LSU. LSU's got a lot going on behind the scenes right now. Obviously, we know with the Brian Kelly stuff, are they paying him? Are they not going to pay him? Is he actually fired? Who knows? It's very interesting. So I'm not going to pick this game, but just want to keep an eye on. It's not televised. It's 12:30. These times are all in Central. 12:30 p.m. Central Time on the SEC Network Plus. Kentucky is playing host to FCS Tennessee Tech, who is 10-0 and ranked 6th in the country in FCS. Tennessee Tech looking for their first perfect season. My guess would be probably ever. Let's take a quick Google search. Ever gone undefeated? No. This 10-0 start is their best in program history. And it's part of a 15-game winning streak, which is the longest in the FCS and a new program record. So they're already at unprecedented heights. Can they do it again against Kentucky? Probably not. Kentucky probably win this one pretty handily. But keep an eye on it. If that one's close late, maybe the Golden Eagles could shock the world and have a chance to go 12-0. Oklahoma at Alabama. Sooners. There's a lot of teams right now, especially there's 2 games in the SEC for certain that are giving the new guys, Texas and Oklahoma, one last chance to prove themselves. If they lose, they're out. If they win, they've made things very interesting. Oklahoma at Alabama. This one at 2:30 on ABC. how can Oklahoma defend the pass this week? That's my biggest question. Because if you look Oklahoma's pass defense last week, they let Joey Aguilar throw for almost 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, they did force 2 picks, but you know who's not going to throw a ball up in double coverage hardly ever? Ty Simpson. Kid's thrown 1 pick all year. And it was I guess it was a dumb throw. It was against something over, to the outside against Vanderbilt. So Alabama's going to be able to throw the ball. They won't be able to run the ball. Alabama's rush offense has been subpar this season, especially in SEC play. I just don't think that favors. Listen, Oklahoma did a really good job coming into a tough environment in Neyland 2 weeks ago and getting it done by shutting down their run game and forcing them to become a pass-heavy team with a turnover-prone quarterback. I just think Alabama's defense is too good. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to be an ugly game. I'm going to go with Alabama. I think they're going to end Oklahoma's playoff hopes. But if this is a low-scoring game in total, if it's 13-10 fourth quarter, it could be very, very interesting. I just don't think Oklahoma will be able to put up enough points to keep up with Alabama, because I do think that they can throw it completely down the field probably 4 or 5 times. Florida at Ole Miss. This one's 6 o'clock ESPN. The Gators 3-6. I mean, this is an all-time low. We're getting there at least for Florida. If they lose this game, their bowl hopes are done. But this was the game they won last year, when they kind of got their I guess you could say, that pep in their step, so to speak. But this team is completely quit. I tell you, I watch this team, I see a lot of quit in them. DJ Lagway has more picks than touchdowns now. 12 interceptions to 11 touchdowns, 14 sacks. I mean, he has just had a rough go of it this year. They only have one running back in Jaden Ball. He's good, but is he that good? He's not good enough to be your only running back. You're missing Vernell Brown, your leading receiver. You're missing Trey Wilson. You're missing Dallas Wilson. Those are your touchdown leaders and 2 of your better receivers overall. So you got no offense. Well, the one thing that Ole Miss does have is an offense that can put up points in a hurry. And this was the game where Florida knocked Ole Miss out of the playoff last year. And this one's at Ole Miss at night. I think we're going to see Lane shut a lot of people up that have been talking about this one. I don't know if there is much talk about a potential Florida upset. Listen, they're still a talented team, but not happening. So that other team in the SEC that has gotten a second chance, their last chance at the playoff, Texas. They go on the road at number 5 Georgia. That's the night game on ABC. This game was on the third Saturday in October last year. It was the night game that week, and Georgia dominated them. Texas didn't lose again. They both made it to the SEC championship. It was a little closer, but Georgia ends up pulling it out in the end in the second half with their backup quarterback. The game went to overtime, but they had a backup quarterback the entire second half. So has Texas figured out how to beat Georgia? It seems that they are Georgia's Alabama. Or they are Alabama's Georgia. Anyway, they can't beat Georgia. They haven't figured it out yet. Do they on Saturday? You look, this Texas offense was not good to start the season, and it took them a while to get going. But I think they figured it out. Look, ever since that loss to Florida, this team's won 4 in a row. Their offense has looked much better in those games. I think the biggest thing may be their defense is kind of slowed up a little bit. If they can combat the early momentum that Georgia's going to have from that crowd, I think that they'll be able to stay in it. But you look, Arch really hasn't had to play a tough team on the road yet. And when he did, he didn't look good. At Ohio State, looked rough. At Florida, looked rough. At Kentucky, didn't look great. His stats were all right in that one. I guess they were all right. No picks, but he only threw for 130 yards, below 50% completion percentage. So I just don't know which Texas is going to show up, because I could also look at the Texas that the offense that took the field against Mississippi State and Vanderbilt and be like, okay, Arch is going to throw for 350 and 3 touchdowns. If he does, I think Texas has got a great shot. I think Georgia's a defense he can do that against, because they've been lackluster this year. it's going to come down to the run games. Because if Georgia can run it down Texas's throat like they have everybody else that they've played, they'll be able to control this one in the second half, because that's how they've done things in the second half. They've run the ball and controlled the pace of play, the tempo, and they play their game. And Texas is, well, again, which Texas shows up? Is it the Texas that made a 17-point comeback in the fourth quarter at Mississippi State, or is it the Texas that blew a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter to Vanderbilt, or almost blew? There's too many questions in this one that I'm having to say which Texas is going to show up. I'm pretty confident in which Georgia is going to show up. I'm going with the dogs in this one. Another set of dogs, Mississippi State. Did not have a good week last week against Georgia, and now have to go on the road to Missouri. Missouri is a strange team right now because their quarterback's hurt. So they're a bit of a different team. And as a result of that, Bo Pribula is doubtful. Don't think we'll see him in this game. So it's going to be Zollers again. Does he have enough? Is he the guy? Because this is a great opportunity for him this weekend. He's playing a bad defense in Mississippi State. He'll be able to build up some confidence. But this is also a Mississippi State team that can put a lot of pressure on him in the fact that you got to keep up with us because we're going to score. We're going to score a lot. Try to keep up with us. Blake Shapen looks like he will play in this one. So that makes that offense that much more dangerous because he's still thrown for 2,300 yards almost on the season. It's favored heavily towards Missouri because it's a night game at home. One advantage I will give the Tigers, no doubt, is their run offense. Ahmad Hardy over 1,000 yards already on the season. Now he's gotten almost 200 carries, so that's understandable. Can Mississippi State stop that run? Because if you look, Mississippi State's rush defense, not very good. Let's find it real quick. Mississippi State defense rushing 111th in the country. Missouri offense rushing 8th in the country. That's where your hay's going to be made. Yeah, I get, Missouri's pass defense. Actually, Missouri's defense is really good yardage-wise and scoring-wise. They're 8th in the FBS in yardage, 9th in passing, 18th in rushing, 21st in scoring. It's going to be tough for Mississippi State to score on this. But Missouri's offense, I take a step back from their numbers right now, especially in the passing game, which already wasn't great. They're going to have to be able to throw the ball somewhat in this game because I do feel like Mississippi State is going to try to stack the box and prevent them from running the ball. You got to be able to find some of those guys on the outside. It doesn't matter who, whether it's Norfleet. I know he's still kind of banged up. Is it Kevin Coleman, a guy that transferred from Mississippi State last year? That'd be an interesting guy to have a big game, a senior from St. Louis. So who do you go to? I think Missouri is. I just feel like without a quarterback, it's going to be too tough for them. If Pribula, and even if Pribula tries to play, he's too mobile to where he can't sit in the pocket and tear you apart. I think Zollers gives you a better option to win, but I don't know. I just have a feeling Mississippi State's going to pull this one out. Give me the Bulldogs in that one. Now, some of these group of 5 playoff hopeful teams. South Florida at Navy. Listen, Navy didn't look very good the week before, or last week against Notre Dame. They didn't look good the week before that against North Texas. I think they're going to take their 3rd straight loss. I'm going to go South Florida getting a big win right there. North Texas at UAB. UAB has already taken out one Heisman, or pretty much killed one group of 5 teams' playoff chances in Memphis. Now, they really ended the next week against South Florida, but I think that UAB, if that game didn't happen or happened a week later, that maybe Memphis would still be alive. I'm going to go North Texas, though. I think that offense is too potent to be completely shut down. Boise State, not a Heisman hopeful. San Diego State still has some hope, and with a big win against Boise State, I think that they can do that. I am going to pick the Aztecs to get that win right there Saturday night. That one 9:30 on CBS Sports Network. San Diego State. And our last of the group of 5 playoff hopefuls in playing Saturday, Appalachian State 4-5 at 8-1 JMU. James Madison is Still not in the top 25 at 8-1. Will they be there at 9-1? We'll see on Tuesday after they beat App State. We'll jump right into college basketball real quick, as we got a lot of games to talk about because this is our last show of the week. So we got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to talk about. Nothing really of note from last night. Most of the games that I said to watch didn't end up being very good. I will say Missouri did impress me with that win over over Minnesota, 83-60. They completely shut down Cade Tyson, and that's the key to the Minnesota offense. He had 17 points, but was not nearly as good as he had been. I was also in foul trouble. But I'll tell you, this Missouri team is dangerous. You got Mark Mitchell, Sebastian Mack, Anthony Robinson, that all go for double figures. But you still got Jacob Cruz off the bench, the senior out of Florida, and he can give you 15 points. He's a great three-point shooter. Not Caleb Grill level, but could be pretty close. So Missouri 4-0, big win for the boys out in Como. They could be dangerous this year. Now, I will say Dennis Gates in the SEC has either been really good or really bad. He had a good team last year, so it would hint that this year might not be as good, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Also, last night, St. Joseph's and Virginia Tech, not really much worth talking about. Houston really impressed against Oakland. A team that only lost to Purdue by 10 goes out and loses to Houston by nearly 30. Tennessee beat North Florida 99-66. I do want to talk about this one for a little bit because I think we have a chance to have a really interesting player. JP Estrella wasn't able to play last year due to injury. Got injured in first week of the season. He's scored double figures and gone for a double-double in his last two games. He's averaging 17 points and 8.5 nearly 9 rebounds. Just looking at his last two games. We can look at all three games he's played this season. Going back to Mercer, he's played exactly 20 minutes in all three of these games. 12 points, 5 rebounds, no blocks. 17 points, 11 rebounds against Northern Kentucky, and 23 points, 10 rebounds against North Florida last night. He could be a under-the-radar SEC player. Nate Ament, 19 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. He can really do it all. Jacoby Gillespie had a great night. 21 points, 4-10 from 3, 7 assists. Had a bit of a turnover problem early, got that under control as the game went on. Mari Abram had 9 points. The Vols, probably the deepest team they've had under Rick Barnes, and I can't wait for not this upcoming Monday, but the following Monday when they go to that Players Era Festival out in Vegas, and they will finally get to figure out how good they are because they got to match up with number 1 Houston out there in that one. So we'll get to find out how good the Vols really are. Now, games for the rest of the week because we got a bunch to talk about. So we'll jump right into it tonight. Really excited to watch this one. Number 2 Purdue at number 8 Alabama. Alabama, we saw them get a big win last Saturday against St. John's in the Garden, of all places, in Madison Square Garden. They got a big bump in the rankings from, I believe they were 15th all the way up to 8. Well, they got their work cut out for them in this one. Number 2 Purdue coming into town. Purdue was the preseason number 1, has since fallen to 2 because of that close game to Oakland, but they haven't had Trey Kaufman-Renn all season. He's coming back tonight. This will be his first game. This is going to be the best guard play. I mean, this is Final Four level good guard play. You got Alabama with LeBaron Philon, Aiden Holloway, guys like that going up against Purdue with Fletcher Lawyer, Braden Smith. This is going to be a great matchup. The guards are going to play a big role in this one. I really have no idea. Can Alabama pick up another big win this early in the season? Because they have scheduled a gauntlet for November and December. Mainly November, because after this Purdue game on Thursday, next Wednesday, at Illinois. Actually, I believe that one. Yeah, that one's at the United Center in Chicago. Gonzaga at Alabama in the Players Era Festival out in Vegas, and UNLV. They'll probably have another game after that. So they're building a very tough resume. Do these guys have it? I didn't know that they'd have it against St. John's, but now that I know that they did and they scored over 100 points on them, I feel pretty confident that they will handle Purdue. Pitt at West Virginia, we got some backyard brawl action. Both teams undefeated. Both teams not what they have been in college basketball. Obviously, we've known all the drama with West Virginia and with Bob Huggins, and then they tried DeVries, and that doesn't work. Pitt with Jeff Capel hasn't gone excellent, but not a bad team. Both these teams still haven't lost yet. Pitt's kind of been on the fringe there. I had to close them with Eastern Michigan on Monday, but these are still two teams that do not like each other. What am I going to be getting? I really don't know. I'd lean towards West Virginia, though, with it being at West Virginia. And West Virginia's a good team at home. They force a lot of turnovers. They get a lot of bench. They get some production off their bench. I think they'll be able to get a big win this Thursday night against Pitt. So, hey, and listen, they got them in football. Let's say they get them in basketball too. We'll hop on over to the next game tonight. Cal at Kansas State. An interesting game with two teams in. This is I guess this is technically an ACC versus Big 12, which, funny enough, is exactly what Pitt and West Virginia is as well. So we got a lot of ACC and Big 12 action tonight. Cal and Kansas State, though, these are two teams that you don't think of typically a lot, and the Golden Bears are going to have to make that travel all the way to Manhattan, Kansas for this one. And that's a tough place to play. Now, they didn't have a great year last year, did Kansas State. But something is, I just have a feeling that this year they're going to get back on track. Things are going to start falling a lot better for them. Because, listen, they had terrible luck with Caleb Hawkins last year. I don't think we see another one of those instances. Take a look at the Wildcats real quick, Kansas State. They scored... they're scoring right around 95 points a game. Games against Greensboro and Bellarmine. Honestly, that win against Bellarmine is pretty impressive. That's a team that just doesn't dribble the basketball. I'm going to go with Kansas State in this one. Cal, they've had some close games against Wright State early in the season, which makes me think that they're a little shaky on the offensive side. I'm going to go Kansas State to get the win in this one. We'll kick it on over to Friday. Georgia Tech at Georgia. This one at 8 p.m. on the SEC Network. This is an interesting one because in football this is going to be a great matchup. In basketball it could be a great matchup, but it's not going to be anywhere near the caliber of teams. Georgia with Mike White have had an interesting time in the SEC. I mean, they made the tournament last year, and that's all great, and they've gotten some great recruits, especially Asa Newell last year. And they scored 120 points on Sunday. Their offense has been amazing. You got 4 guys averaging over 12 points, another 4 averaging over 7 points. So that's 8 guys averaging over 7 points a game. That's a lot of production. Now, you look at who you've played: Bellarmine, Maryland Eastern Shore, and Morehead State. You haven't played much competition yet. But you held Maryland Eastern Shore to 29 points, and you held Bellarmine to 59 points. You scored 120 on Morehead State. You've shown good on both sides of the ball. I'm going to give Georgia the benefit of the doubt here and say they pick up a big win right here against their in-state rival and jump to 4-0. And listen, with the numbers they're putting up and with the way some teams with a number beside their name have played this week, the Bulldogs could be a new team in the top 25 on Monday. Probably won't. They don't like switching up the top 25 early in the season. They just like rearranging the teams and saying, oh, yeah, we'll give them a chance. Two teams need to get back on track are Central Florida and Texas A&M. Central Florida had a tough loss last Saturday to Vanderbilt and allowed Vanderbilt to put up over 100 points on them. But, in their other games, they have a 4-point win over Hofstra, but then a 37-point win over Florida A&M. Texas A&M, on the other hand, is struggling to start the season, to say the least. Did not have a good outing against Oklahoma State last Sunday. Getting beat by 24 points. and you don't look good at all. Your offense looks bad. Your defense looks bad. I think UCF is going to play a little. Now, again, this one is at in College Station. It's at Reed Arena. The place is going to be loud. It's a night game. It's on a Friday night. I really don't know. We'll go UCF. I can't pick against Texas A&M at home. I get that their season is not off to a great start, but they always get it figured out. I get it's not Buzz Williams at the helm anymore. Michigan at TCU. Michigan had a bit of a scare earlier this week with on Tuesday, I believe it was, against Wake Forest. Does it happen again? Because this time they're on the road. That Wake Forest game was at home. Does it happen when you go on the road? It's a Friday night. It's TCU. Horned Frogs have already suffered a loss that at the hands of New Orleans to open the season. One that not a lot of people saw. Just in general. But the Privateers and that that New Orleans team isn't great. They lost by 35 to LSU. That alone is making me think Michigan's going to go on the road and win this one big, and I think they will. But keep an eye on it because Michigan looked a little shaky against a Wake Forest team that didn't have a lot of preseason, high preseason expectations coming in. So maybe keep an eye on the boys in Ann Arbor. The one I am most excited for on Friday night, though, Arizona, number 5 Arizona at number 15 UCLA. These are two of the best teams out west, and not conference rivals anymore. Arizona obviously got that big jump in the rankings following that win against Florida in their opener, and have looked really good ever since. I mean, I guess we're a bit shaky in their game earlier this week against Northern Arizona. But I think that game against Northern Arizona proved that they just have variety of players because it wasn't Koa Pete that was tearing everything up like he has been typically. It was Jaden Bradley. They got some production from him. So UCLA, on the other hand, has looked good this season. Looked really good. They got some players out of the portal. They lost some players in the portal. I mean, they're just like everybody else. Mick Cronin, more of a defensive-minded guy. Tommy Lloyd, more of an offensive-minded guy. So you're going to get a contrast of styles. Who prevails? Well, look at the location of the game. It's in L.A. We'll see if... Boy, my iPad is really struggling right now. We will see if we can get that figured out, get everything pulled back up. There we go. Okay, the Bruins. Offense... not anything that's going to blow you away. Defense has been really good this year. Haven't let a team score over 75 yet. They've had some close games, though. That game against Pepperdine, that game against Eastern Washington, a little close. And they moved back in the rankings because of it. And played much better against West Georgia on Monday. The game is... Yes, the game is at UCLA. It's in the Hall of Fame series, so I'm not sure if it's actually at the. Not sure if it's actually at the. It's not. I don't think it would be at UCLA's home arena. I tell you, Arizona's got a tough stretch. They're playing defending national champions, and then they're playing at against UCLA at UConn. They've got a rough go of it. I think they got the guys to get it done though. Koa Pete is still awesome. He's been really great this year. You have guys like Toby Awaka that can rebound. Get you 10 or 11 boards in the game. For UCLA, it's been Tyler Bilodeau's team. You would like a little more out of Donovan Dent, possibly. Trent Perry, I think, has been a pretty good surprise this year. Didn't see a whole lot of him last year. Knew he was very talented. This team's going to get a lot from their guards, though. Eric Daly, as well, has had a very good season. The transfer from Oklahoma State was about 12 points a game for UCLA last year, so he's living up to those expectations. I'm going to go Arizona in this one, but those are going to be two very good teams this year. If I can, there we go. Gonzaga at Arizona State. I don't even need to watch Arizona State play. If Gonzaga plays anywhere near the level that they played at, I guess that was Tuesday night. if they play anywhere near the level that they played against Creighton, which I think they will, they're going to win big. I mean, they just dominated a ranked team like that. I get it's early in the season and the rankings don't really mean a whole lot, but that's impressive. And people forget that on Saturday before that, they go out and beat Oklahoma by 15, and then they go beat Creighton by 27. I think they're going to do the same to Arizona State, discard them and head on with their lives. Xavier at Iowa is a cool one because you got two new head coaches in this one. Richard Pitino for Xavier, Rick Pitino's son, and Ben McCollum at Iowa, the former Drake head coach. Brought Bennett Sturts with him. A lot of people are calling him the Kurt Signetti of the Big Ten in basketball. I don't agree with that. I've seen Iowa ranked number 1 in the country in basketball since I've been in high school, so in the last 10 years. So I wouldn't say that they were nearly at the level Indiana is, but still a good story. And this Iowa basketball team, compared to their football team, is putting up some points. 101 to 69 over Robert Morris. Slowed it down a little bit with Western Illinois on last Friday, but now they bring Xavier to town. And this is a good team, man. Bennett Sturts averaging 22 points a game on 50% free from 3. That's really good. We're going to have to learn some more names on this team. Right now it's going to be Bennett Sturts for the most part. Maybe we find out one of those names on Friday night. I'm going to go with the Hawkeyes. Also, Xavier's defense has really not been good this season, and they got blown out by Santa Clara earlier in the week. I do like Richard Pitino giving grades out after the game. To talk to fans, A-, and defense and rebounding F. Stuff like that. I think that's cool. Saturday morning, 11 a.m. on Peacock. Clemson at Georgetown. They're both teams undefeated early in the season. Georgetown, are they getting back to the ways under that they used to be under John Thompson and his son after that? Maybe. They got that 10-point win over Maryland last Friday, and now they go to they host Clemson this Saturday. Looking at them overall, KJ Lewis has been the guy, and I mean it is something that you would anticipate from the Arizona transfer. Wanted to kind of be the number 1 guy, and his junior year he's finally getting that. He's averaging 17 points, 8 rebounds a game. He's been really good. Clemson, on the other hand, they're continuing to be look a little more and more different, I guess you could say. Obviously in this world, there's a lot of transferring. Their defense is really good this year. But we'll talk a little bit about some of their best players. You have Ace Buckner, you have R.J. Godfrey, Nick Davidson. It's a lot of new. What are you going to get out of them? You don't really know. I mean, none of them have really, other than Jake Whalen and Carter Welling, none of them have been great three-point shooters, but this team's defense is incredible. In their first 3 games, 38, 59, 56. That'll play. And giving up 45 a game, that'll win you a lot of games. I'll go Clemson in this one. I just think that they're still going to be pretty good this year. I don't know if Georgetown has enough yet, but they're getting there. The best game of the day on Saturday, BYU at UConn, number 7, going on the road to face number 3. Let me check the location on this one. It says at UConn, but again, that could just be on the scoreboard if this is a... Okay, so this game is in Boston at the Hall of Fame series. I would assume that means it's at the TD Garden. It is. These are 2 very, very good teams. Very. I like BYU. They have 3 really good proven players. I don't know if UConn has that yet. And like serious good players for BYU. I mean, I think if you take Richie Saunders, Rob Wright, and AJ DeMansa, and you spread them out throughout the country, because right now they're averaging 20.3, 18.7, 18.3 on the same team, and those guys could be 25 to 30 elsewhere if they were on their own team. I mean, Richie Saunders leads you in points, rebounds, and steals. Wright's giving you about 5 assists a game, along with that 18 points. And then you have the number 1 pick in the NBA draft, most likely, also on your team. And he's not playing like, some of the other projected number 1 picks, like Cam Boozer, like Nate Ament, like Michael Brown Jr., and taking a ton of shots. He's shooting 50% from the field, 30% from 3, 75% from the line. He's not taking a bunch of crazy dumb shots either. UConn, on the other hand, also 3-0, have also looked really good this year. Who do they got? Obviously, this has been Terrace Reed's team, 19.5 points this season, 10 boards. Alex Caravan's been really good. Solo Ball's been good. Still want to see a little more out of Silas Demery. I thought he could give you more. The transfer from Georgia, especially scoring 13 points and 4 assists a game last year. He's passed the ball a lot better. If it was at UConn, I would give them a slight advantage, and obviously they're not having to travel as far, really just right down the road for them. I just really like BYU's offense. I think that one's going to be a shootout, but I'm going to go with BYU in that one. Oklahoma-Nebraska, old Big 12 matchup. I get Oklahoma's already got an early season loss, but they actually played. I would actually say they played Gonzaga pretty well. This game is in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So not as crazy of a trip for, honestly, either of these teams. I mean, it's, I guess, shorter for Nebraska. I'm not sure what it is with all of these teams in the Big 12 playing these games at the Sanford Pentagon in Sioux Falls, because I believe we saw Iowa State and Mississippi State play there early in the year, early this week. So I'm going to say the SEC gets this one. I'm going to pick Oklahoma, but that one could be anybody's game. I mean, as long as Fred Hoiberg is at Nebraska, which I believe he still is. Yes, and his son Sam's on the team, leading them in assists. So, listen, as long as Fred Hoiberg is their coach, Nebraska is never going to be an easy team to beat. But I do have some concerns with only a 19-point win over Maryland Eastern Shore. Notre Dame and Ohio State play on Sunday. This one at 11:30 on FS1. Ohio State has lost a lot from last year, and that was already a team that kind of struggled at points. They lost Michie Johnson. You lose Aaron Bradshaw. Were those good players? Were those bad players? That's kind of up to you. They've played multiple kind of ways. They've had games with that game against IU Indianapolis, where it was 118-102 in regulation. And then they have games like the one they had Tuesday against App State, where it's 75-53. Notre Dame is a lot better this year, but are they enough better? Because they were pretty rough last year. Bruce Thornton has been really, really good. 77 points already through 3 games. So he's scoring. Christopher Tilley, he's doing really good. They got Gabe Cupps, the transfer from Indiana. I think he can start playing a little better. They'll be a really good team. Devin Royal, John Mobley. I mean, they've got a bunch of actually really good players. I think that they could pull an upset here. I don't even know if it would necessarily be an upset, this early in the season. But Notre Dame's got a bunch of young scorers as well. And now, they have really struggled under Micah Shrewsbury. And, when you think Notre Dame, men's basketball is, probably third in things you think about behind women's basketball and football. But look, Marcus Burton's putting up 20 points a game. Brennan Shrewsbury's putting up about 15. I just don't know if they got enough. I'm going to go Ohio State in this one. But I think that's actually going to be a very good game Sunday. So watch out for that one. Another fun one Sunday night, number 10 Florida at unranked Miami. I give Florida has struggled this year, but they haven't had enough struggle at the same time for me to be anywhere near concerned about them losing this game. I'll go Florida in that one. And now for our this one at 2 p.m. on ESPN earlier in the day. Number 1 Houston at number 22 Auburn. This might be one of my favorite games of the weekend, just for the fact that we know Houston is probably the best team in the country. This is a game in Birmingham at Legacy Arena, the Battleground 2K25. That's what this game is called. It's favoring Houston heavily. Auburn's been putting up some points, though, against everybody. They've scored 95, 95, and 93. So they're scoring over 94 points a game. Houston, we know them for their defense, are holding teams 57, 48, and 45. Quick math tells me that's about 50 points a game, 51 maybe. We'll do the quick math real quick, just right here. Exactly 50 points a game. So what's going to prevail? 94 points or 50 points? Houston's offense hasn't scored more than 78 in a game. So they're really going to rely on their defense to try to slow this one down. But Auburn's got some scorers, man, and guys that like to make their own shot. I really do think this is a tough matchup for Houston because of Keyshawn Hall. That's 24 points and 11 boards right there. Sebastian Williams-Adams, he'll get you 12. Elijah Freeman, he can make his own shot. Tahad Pettiford as well. Now, what can they get from everyone else? I think you're going to want to try to get Keyshawn Murphy back because you're going to need an interior force to try to combat Joseph Tugler because he is a really, really good player. 10 points, 5 rebounds. Chris Signac, I believe he's a freshman, yes, out of New Orleans. He's getting you about 10 boards a game. Emmanuel Sharp has been your big scorer. Not the transfer. He's been there all 4 years. He's really good. It's by far his best year. Milos Uzan, he has not shot the ball well this year, and it doesn't matter. He's still being very productive, but this team doesn't have to score a lot. Oh, Joseph Tugler is also getting 3 blocks a game. That's absurd. No one else on the team is getting more than half, 0.7, and that's Chris Signac. So Houston defense is really good. Auburn offense is really good. What's going to be the difference? I think Houston pulls it out, but I think it's a close one. I think Auburn's going to give them a run. I think Auburn's going to give them a good run. I think it's going to be somewhere around like a 82-80 finish. But I'm going to go with Houston in that one. So we'll real quick go over all of our picks for all of our games. We'll go back up to the college football. I have Louisville over Clemson Friday night, Notre Dame over Pitt Saturday morning, Miami surviving NC State. I have Virginia over Duke, Cincinnati over Arizona, Arizona State over West Virginia, Utah over Baylor, BYU over TCU, Oregon over Minnesota, Michigan over Northwestern, USC over Iowa, Ohio State over UCLA, Arkansas over LSU, that's my upset of the week, Alabama over Oklahoma, Ole Miss over Florida, Georgia over Texas, Mississippi State over Missouri, South Florida over Navy, North Texas over UAB, San Diego State over Boise State, and then James Madison over App State. We'll hop on to the basketball side. Alabama over Purdue tonight, West Virginia over Pitt tonight, and then Kansas State over Cal tonight. On to the Friday games, I have Georgia over Georgia Tech, A&M over UCF, Michigan over TCU, Arizona over UCLA, Gonzaga over Arizona State, Iowa over Xavier. On to Saturday, Clemson over Georgetown, BYU over UConn, Oklahoma over Nebraska. And then for Sunday, I have Ohio State over Notre Dame, Florida over Miami, and Houston over Auburn. So that will do it for this Thursday edition of the Mark My Words College Sports Show. We will be back on Monday where we're going to break down a whole bunch of stuff because we just talked about a bunch of games. Now we got to wait for them to happen, see what happens, and then talk about them on Monday. So we will be back for that. Have a good weekend, everybody. You've been watching the Mark My Words College Sports Show on the X Sports Network.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.